In this video, I want to give you a short functional overview of the IUCLID Integration Platform as provided by CropLife Europe. Let me first motivate why we created such a tool. This is the IUCLID own web interface, and we're looking at a specific document which I want to use for demonstration purposes. When you need to enter data in IUCLID, you need to do this cell by cell, field by field, which over time is very much effort, as you need to click in and fill field by field. For example, if we want to fill this PEG groundwater table, PEG stands for Predicted Environmental Concentration, as you may know, we need to sort of fill every field one by one, even if we have prepared this data before in, for example, an Excel sheet, a Word document, or whatever. So this requires a lot of manual work and typing in order to fill such simply one line of this table. And it's a realistic use case that you have dozens or even hundreds of lines which you need to fill in here. So to help and to assist with this filling of data in IUCLID, we have created the IUCLID Integration Platform. Let me show you how this works. Now let's switch to that tool. This simply is a kind of alternative interface, user interface, to the same server. So it doesn't have a database. It looks at the live, very same data that you can access with the IUCLID native interface itself. As you see here right now, we are connected to the same server that I'm running locally here right now as the IUCLID web interface. So now let's simply quickly refresh that. In the upper left part, we see here the data sets. And if I click on a specific data set, the lower part, I see the documents in this data set. So as of now, it's a simplistic display, but it's sufficient for the type of use cases we want to support. So here we see the PEG document that we just looked at in the native IUCLID interface. So this is the line we just filled in manually. So now let me show you actually two alternative methods that you can use with our IUCLID integration platform. The first is available for everything that we display here in a tabular form, and also IUCLID displayed in a tabular form. Of course, a tabular form is very close to Excel. So why not taking data and ranges from Excel and just pasting them? And that's actually what we're going to do right now. So let's go to an example I prepared, which is very likely what you would have in-house if you prepare for an IUCLID submission. What I can do right now with the keyboard is select Control-C, or I can also do it. I can do it. Let's do it Control-C. So put it in the clipboard or here. And then I go back here, select the upper left cell. So you can see here we have cells similar to Excel, and then paste. What you see right now, the range I've just selected is directly pasted into this interface of our tool, plus it's already validated, which means if you look closely here, you will see that the text that we had here, which was called My Use Description, has been resolved to the actual document here, which you see here. This is the gap document where the actual uses are in, which you need to reference because this is a reference to another document. Similar, the reference to the substance has been resolved because there is a substance with the name my demo substance that we now are linking to automatically. So let's simply now save and look at this document now again in IUCLID. So let's go back, refresh, and we see the data that we've just pasted here, and you see the references have indeed been resolved. And when I click on here and, for example, look in here, all the data has been correctly passed. So data which in here we can prepare in one single cell is correctly divided and passed in IUCLID to go into multiple cells, and of course could also have this additional qualifier in front. So it's not only pasting, but it's a quite advanced validation of what is pasted. To show you that it's a real validation, let me quickly demonstrate what happens if we select just something and try to paste it in a region which is not correct. So I just create a new line here. I paste in the wrong place. I just shift it by columns, and you see now this is not correct. This cannot be resolved because my demo substance, there is no document in this data set with this name. 1 is not a legal value in this pick list here, where only metabolite and parent are allowed, and also Pearl and Pelmo are no names for substances, and so forth. So this tool directly gives you an indication what is correct and what is not correct. So let's just refresh without saving, and now we're back. There is another way. Instead of copying pasting via the clipboard, you can also prepare CSV files for this table plus all the other data, so the fields above and below, in a specific CSV file. So for each document, we will provide a CSV template, which, when properly filled, you can use to import. So let me show it how this looks like. So in the first row, we simply have the technical field names here, which are only filled now for this tabular part. Actually, this is the same data as I've just pasted via the clipboard, but to show you this alternative method, I will now import this directly without copying pasting based on this CSV file. So let's go back and do this. As this is still in development, it's a beta functionality, we have pre-configured it. So now when I press this button, it actually reads the file that we just looked at and creates a new document with the current timestamp here and fills in the 280, 290 fields that we just saw in the CSV file. Again, you see filling this is a matter of seconds, instead really a matter of hours compared to what you would need to do in the native IUCLID interface. This is not restricted to this tabular type. Let's go now to another example, but using the same method. Let's go to OHG 855, which is eventually the most complex document definition there is in IUCLID. What you see here is a logical abstract model of this definition. This is something we created. It's not part of the IUCLID documentation, unfortunately, but we created this to make the structure more visible for experts and for discussions. So what you actually have in this OHD, you have actually one trial, should be many. This is currently a modeling error from ECHA OECD side. But then within a trial, you have multiple plots. Then The plots may have multiple applications. Um, each application may have multiple test material and so forth. Again, sampling and residues. A sample may have multiple plots. And finally, the residue levels then reference the sampling information plus the analytical methods. And this again is a co-link to combination of analyzed substance and sample portion. So it's really quite a complex document. Still the structure is quite apparent here, but unfortunately, when we go back to the IUCLID user interface, it's not so easy at all. So now let's go to a sample of an empty sample of this 85.5 document. Sorry. So now let's open this. We want to leave. Here we go. So this is now an empty document. And when we start now filling this, so if we start going for a trial, you see again, you would need to fill one by one every field. And this requires a lot of manual work, a lot of clicking, a lot of potential errors. And then this nesting starts. So within this trial, we have a plot. Within the plot, we can have many applications. And this goes down and down and down. Yeah. And then if we go further down with sampling and residues, we need to cross-reference the trials and the plot with IDs that we just created. And again, we have a nesting further down. So if you fill that, it becomes barely unreadable in this way. An alternative way is what we provide here in the IUCLID Integration Platform. What we offer is that you fill a dedicated CSV template, and it looks roughly like that, which of course, due to the complexity of the document definition, is also complex, but can likely be filled from in-house sources more easily. So if you have specific Excel sheets, and EFSA is providing Excel sheets for that, and transform this into this representation, or if you would have an in-house database, you could also try to write a report to fill that. If you have this representation, again including those technical names for the fields, then it's quite straightforward to fill IUCLID again. So what you see here is actually the nesting of the data quite nicely demonstrated. So here we have a plot starting from that column here. So you see here, this is plot 1, this is a plot 2, this is a third plot. Within a plot, then you have an application where the data starts here. And then within the application, you have applied test material. So within that application, you would have these 3 applied test materials. Within that application, another, and so forth and so forth. So you see the nesting quite directly when I scroll out. Going back to the IUCLID user interface now, let me demonstrate how this works. I will now click that button, and it will read that CSV file and create a new instance of that with the data. So you see now the data that we just saw in the CSV file is filled in a matter of seconds, which usually you would need to put into IUCLID manually in a matter of probably really hours. So let's go back in here. I need to refresh this right now. that we get the new document displayed. So now we have 3 documents. Here's the new one with a timestamp. And we now see the data all being correctly filled in. And if needed, you could then further refine and link it here. Again, what is also possible is a cross-referencing, is an upload of attachments and other things. Okay, so this functionality which is currently present as beta version will be available for all kinds of documents in the near future, in the next release. For each document, we will automatically provide the template, which when filled can be directly imported in a similar way as I've just demonstrated it. Of course, there will be no more buttons, but there will be a more advanced selection. To conclude this demonstration, I will quickly show you what is already present in the existing version, which you can download. It's actually a similar functionality based on CSV import, just for entities which are in the so-called IUCLID inventory, so more precisely literature references and reference substances. In a similar way, you can import CSV files. So let's take, for example, that one. And then we see the import of the CSV has created 2 separate jobs. So in this CSV, we had the information for 2 different literature references. Here you see the data. This data is not yet in IUCLID, but it's just displayed in our interface. And now we can actually upload it. So now you see this is already done. It has created those literature references, and I can click here to open what I've just created. And you see this is not part of this particular examples, but also attachments can be uploaded using this functionality. A similar possibility is present for the reference substance, which is simply a different CSV file. To get more information about this tool, I encourage you to look at on our webpage. You find information, about this CSV import, about this tabular data editing that I've showed you, copy pasting, some download and installation instructions, and finally here a download section. If you have any questions and comments, please let us know. The details to contact us are on our eSubmission website. Please feel free to report any suggestions for further improvements, but also any problems you encounter with this tool. Thank you very much for your attention.